you, this SEC unit is pretty formidable. Okay, it's first off, as you would expect, it's got a million Alabama guys, right? Like that's just to be expected. But here's the All SEC team for 2015. This is a pretty good team. Quarterback, Dak Prescott, Mississippi State. That makes sense. Dak Prescott with a 35-4 touchdown interception ratio. That's pretty good. 3,954 yards passing. And all like head and shoulders, in my opinion, the best quarterback in the SEC. Unfortunately, played on a team in Mississippi State that was very much undermanned and didn't have a whole lot of talent around it. Running back is Derrick Henry, which we all know why Derrick Henry. He's amazing, Heisman finalist. Other running back, Leonard Fournette, who was at one point the runaway Heisman candidate in the season. That's a pretty terrifying backfield. Wide receivers, Laquan Treadwell from Ole Miss, Pharaoh Cooper from South Carolina. Again, you've got some guys who are some of the better parts of their offense. Treadwell is the only SEC receiver with 1,000 yards, of course, and he has 8 touchdowns. Pharaoh Cooper is probably the only good South Carolina player. And going to tight end, you've got Hunter Henry from Arkansas, 46 catches, 647 yards, and of course, he's an amazing blocker. Offensive line, Laramie Tunsil from Ole Miss, Dan Skipper from Arkansas, Kyler Kerbison from Tennessee, Sebastian Triolta from Arkansas, and at center, Ryan Kelly from Alabama. Not to be confused with the Ryan Kelly of the Los Angeles Lakers, who is not that great at basketball. See, and on defense, you've got the Alabama Crimson Tide. I'm sort of kidding, but not really. You've got Jonathan Bullard from Florida, which I think is an obvious pick. Reggie Ragland from Alabama, which again, that one is also obvious. Kentrell Brothers from Missouri is, shall we call him a tackling machine? 152 tackles, along with 72 solo tackles. He also registered double-digit tackles in 11 games. Zach Cunningham from Vanderbilt, Vernon Hargreaves III from Florida again, Trey Elston from Ole Miss, and then Eddie Jackson, also of Alabama, for the defensive backs, and Jalen Tabor from Florida. So, again, a very, very loaded team. Could these teams take on other all-conference teams? I was looking into that, and I believe that there's as good a shot as any. Your backfield consists of Derrick Henry and Leonard Fournette. There's not a whole lot of teams that are going to stop you in the running game. Dak Prescott has been as efficient a quarterback as there has been, not just in the SEC, but in college football as a whole. That to me is crazy. The consistency there, and I think that he's really gotten overlooked because of the winning. They haven't done a whole lot of winning at Mississippi State this season, or at least not as much as it would take to draw the attention of the national media. And I feel like that's a little unfortunate, but I don't know the ways in which you combat that. But I think that, again, attaching winning as a statistic as to whether or not a guy is good or whether or not a guy is not good is a failed concept, because winning is an unscientific stat. So many other factors go into winning other than, was this one individual in a team sport good? Dak Prescott has no help in Mississippi State. How many games do you expect him to win? How many games do you expect him to win? And how many of you would actually go into a situation where you didn't have a lot of backup and you were expected to finish your job? If you were doing a job and there's a team aspect to that job, if you work in construction, even if you work in the business world, you have to work with others, and others have to work with you, and everybody has to be effective, not just working with one another, but doing their job well, or you hold the whole group back, and the group that doesn't succeed gets overlooked, even when there are individuals in that group that deserve to be seen. For instance, is Leonard Fournette less of a Heisman candidate now than he was when he was running away with it earlier in the season? He didn't really decline. He didn't really fall off. LSU stopped winning games. LSU lost some games that they should have won. The Alabama loss was so incredibly ugly that, yeah, it's hard to look at that and say, oh, yeah, Leonard Fournette deserves to be the Heisman Trophy winner. But your brain is conflating the winning of the team with the winning and the success of the guy, with the success of the one player. Leonard Fournette is not catching passes for the most part. Leonard Fournette is not throwing the ball. He's not blocking for the most part. So why is he suddenly not at the highest levels of winning the Heisman? Derrick Henry, after Alabama beat LSU and Alabama moved up into the top 4, Derrick Henry became the Heisman favorite. What made Derrick Henry more of a Heisman candidate than earlier in the season? Nothing. He was consistent all season long. Nick Saban was giving him 30 carries a game early on. He was the workhorse all season long, especially early in the season when they couldn't trust Coker. So what made Derrick Henry more of a Heisman candidate near the end of the season? The winning. The loss to Ole Miss looks bad. It's the winning. And we have to find a better way to judge this kind of thing, because winning is such a weird stat to use for a team sport in which to judge individuals. Again, you see it all the time in football. Peyton Manning gets judged by this all the time because even though he played with teams that had inferior defenses and outside of a couple of guys, even inferior offensive lines at times, he doesn't get credit for being a winner because, well, he couldn't do it in the postseason. Some of those Indianapolis defenses were not good. A lot of those Indianapolis teams, offense was the best defense. Keeping the ball on the field kept their defense sharp. Their defense didn't have a lot of opportunities to make a lot of mistakes. That's part of how this game works. And then, of course, Indianapolis would always get out to early leads, which also helps the defense because your pass rush knows, okay, they're going to be in more obvious passing situations as they try to throw the ball to catch up. You don't give Peyton Manning credit for any of that, of course, because he doesn't win in the playoffs in a team sport. Like to me, that doesn't work. Nor does it work to give Tom Brady more accolades and more greatness for winning more Super Bowls in a team sport where his head coach is also great, where the pieces that they find are just plug and play, not just on the offensive side of the ball, which does speak to the greatness of Tom Brady, but on the defensive side of the ball also, where Malcolm Butler intercepts a pass to help the Patriots win the Super Bowl at the end of the game. And we never heard of Malcolm Butler before. He's just there. He's just another guy that Belichick found. So is it fair to say to Leonard Fournette, you're not really a Heisman finalist, even though you've been good for so much of this season and you haven't been worse than anybody else? You've been good. Your team has been losing. That's part of it. You want to see a Heisman winner have that signature victory because that's what you'll remember. That's what's going to go down into the annals of history is here is the time that Derrick Henry ran all over LSU. And you're never going to forget it. And that's part of it. But is this the award for the flashiest player? Is this the award? And I'm not saying that Derrick Henry's a flashy player, But is this the award for the flashiest player? Is this the award for the most memorable player? Or is this the award for the best player in college football? Because if it's an award for the best player in college football, then Leonard Fournette and Dak Prescott have just the right to be there in New York as anybody else. But their teams were losing, so they're not. And that's just silly to me. That's just silly to me because they can't control that. They don't have control over every aspect of their team. Okay, they're just single players and running backs at that. They have a lot of power in college football, for sure, but the whole offense doesn't run through them. Big plays need to be made on both sides of the ball. Okay, LSU loses to Alabama, they lose to Arkansas, and they lose to Ole Miss. And in those games, in those losses to Ole Miss, in the loss to Ole Miss, Leonard Fournette, 108 yards. In the loss to Arkansas, we didn't have a rush from Leonard Fournette. And in the loss to Alabama, that's the one where they really stifled Leonard Fournette, held him to 31 yards and a touchdown. And what I want to know is one off game and one game where he didn't play. Does that keep Leonard Fournette out of the Heisman? And then at the end of the season, the win over Texas A&M, the win over Texas A&M, 159 yards and a touchdown. 159 yards and a touchdown. And I'm sorry, I didn't read the stat before correctly from Fournette from Arkansas, where he had 91 carries for a touchdown. Like, Leonard Fournette has still been dominating all season long. Nothing has changed. He never stopped. The team stopped winning, sure. Because Leonard Fournette was never just, with the exception of the Auburn game, he wasn't just crushing people. Leonard Fournette had some games where you were like, oh, he's playing all right. And then you look down and he has 110 yards. They're not the most impressive 110 yards, but mercy. The fact that he could do it so easily is horrifying. Do we give him credit for that? Of course not. He's not a Heisman finalist because they lost to Alabama? Well, there you go. Just another example of Nick Saban ruining lives. He gets coaches fired. He knocks people out of the Heisman race. Oh, you were the runaway Heisman finalist? Nope. Get back to the pack, my friend. More Nick Saban. This is Clutch with Keon Rose here on AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio. Thank you for joining me today. We'll be back to talk some college hoops and so much more here on Clutch with Keon Rose. Next.
I'm blowing everything up. We're starting over. I'm doing a new show. I want guys who push it to the middle of the table and go over the top. Take a risk, fail miserably. I'm right, and I'm not wrong, and I'll never back down. Conflict works. Allow it.
It's The Herd with Colin Cowherd. Right here and everywhere. Noon Eastern.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds. We'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
Fox News Talk 1240. Don't be a victim. Arm yourself today at Carter Shooting Supply and Indoor Range, offering the finest selection of personal firearms and ammo, especially the hard-to-find ammunition. You know the police can't protect you. They show up after the crime is committed. The ability to protect yourself, your family, and when called upon, your nation is enshrined in the United States Constitution. Shop the largest selection of shooting supplies on their online store. CarterShootingSupply.com. Carter Shooting Supply and Indoor Range. The largest and cheapest selection in Chattanooga. 6210 Highway 58, Harrison. Call 344-1099. That's 344-1099. Keep your family safe this Christmas by buying them a certificate for Carter Shooting Supply Tennessee Handgun Permit Class. And stop by today to consult one of their qualified experts. They'll fit you perfectly to the firearm that meets your needs. Call 344-1099. You'll always find the widest selection of new and used firearms at Carter Shooting Supply and Indoor Range. 6210 Highway 58, Harrison. Call 344-1099.
Do I sound like a guy who loves to eat? Yeah. You too? Guess what? I cook the meanest hamburger in Hickson at my little restaurant, Armando's at Chester Frost Park. That's it. Right by the entrance, Chester Frost Park on Hickson Pike. I'd like you to come by and let me cook you dinner too. Bring your family, kids, friends. Lunch for common folk, just not the common lunch. Yeah, we're perfect for lunch. And dinner too. Meat guy? Yeah. Potatoes? Yeah. Catfish, BLTs, pecan pie, hot cup of coffee or ice cold sweet tea. Armando's, that's us. Go on by 11 to 9, Monday through Saturday, right outside the entrance, Chester Frost Park, across from Thrasher.
Lay your burdens down at the woodhouse. Leave all your worries at the door. Just take some time. We're transforming life. Happy holidays at the Wood. From the Woodhouse Day Spa. Holiday gift cards available at chattanooga.woodhousespas.com. I love my Flex Loan from Advance Financial. I needed cash, I needed it fast, and I didn't want to get a payday loan. My Flex Loan from Advance Financial is not a payday loan. It's a line of credit. I only pay for the cash I need, and I only pay for the time that I need it. There's no lump sum payment. My Advance Financial Flex Loan is an open line of credit, and I can get cash anytime I need it.
Visit one of our 24/7 locations and get the cash you need today. Advance Financial. Welcome.
Compass Media Network's coverage of the NFL. Hi, this is Jerry Recco. Join Kevin Ray, Danny White, and myself for all the action.
Hot News Talk 1240.
If it's the NFL, it's right here.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
Hot News Talk 1240.
Expect mostly cloudy skies out there through the afternoon. Can't rule out a late day sprinkle, but not much. Highs upper 50s. Tonight, clouds hanging around, not as cool, lows mid 40s. For Thursday, becoming partly sunny, mild still, 62 to 65, mid and upper 60s Friday. This forecast is brought to you by American Express, making it easy and more convenient for you during this shopping season. To apply and to get more information, their website, AmericanExpress.com. And I'm Sports 1412 Chief Meteorologist Patrick Cole.
On AM 1240, Hot News Talk Radio.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
Hot News Talk 1240.
From UT to UT, Rick Barnes, the head coach of Tennessee Volunteers basketball, has the changes in this team are not going to be obvious. They're not going to be immediately visible, but this team is better off with Rick Barnes as head coach. I do believe that. But Rick Barnes is not, as far as strategy goes, in terms of just straight, flat-out coaching, he's not going to do a Brad Stevens kind of job for your school. He's not going to do a Shaka Smart kind of job. But Rick Barnes' strength is recruiting. You will have better players at Tennessee with Rick Barnes there. And the backbone of college athletics is recruiting. It has to be. It has to be. You have the best players, more often than not, you win. And we were talking about this Monday, right, with Holly Warlick and the Lady Vols, because Holly is in a situation right now where Tennessee is struggling especially against ranked opponents. The Vols are struggling against ranked opponents, and I see that, and I'm a little worried. You've got Diamond DeShields, but it looks like and I've only seen a couple of games, like literally two. But it looks like she's alone out there. You take Diamond DeShields away from the Vols, from the Lady Vols, and you don't have a whole lot after that. Okay, and if you can shoot the three well, you can beat the Lady Vols. It's not hard. Like, if you're a three-point shooting team, you've got some specialists, you get them into the corner to shoot some wide open shots by, penetrating and kicking back out. This is not a hard team to beat. And they find themselves losing some of these big games and not showing out in the tournament. Recruiting is going to take a hit. And I don't know what kind of recruiter Holly Warlick is. Anybody is going to be a step down from Pat Summitt. Got it. But Holly is in a position where she needs to win some big games for the Lady Vols and in a hurry, or she's not going to have anybody wanting to come. With the case of Rick Barnes and what he did at Texas, Rick Barnes coached some sorry teams, still landed Kevin Durant. It's crazy to me. Kevin Durant should never have been in Texas. He's from Prince George's County, Maryland. So you're going to land some big basketball talent. I don't know how Rick Barnes does it. He reaches into his hat and he pulls out madness. He's one of the best college basketball recruiters. I don't know how he does it. I have no idea. I think the effect of Rick Barnes being the Tennessee basketball coach is going to be seen in a couple of years. In 2 to 3 years down the road, that's where you're going to see the impact. Because he is too good of a recruiter for this school not to win. And I think they're going to win a lot more conference games than they did in the past. And Dick Vitale wrote an article on ESPN a few months back, 3 months back, basically outlining why it is that Tennessee is in good hands with Rick Barnes. And Rick Barnes is going to give you a solid 16 to 18 wins a season. 18 wins, if you've got some quality victories in there, can get you into the tournament. That can get you into the NCAA tournament. And if he's able to get some talent on this team, some real talent, I don't see any reason why Tennessee can't go far. Rick Barnes is off to a shaky start. Yes, 4-3. I'm not saying there's no reason to have thoughts. There is. 4-3 is not a great start. 4-3 is not a great start, but Tennessee hasn't actually beaten anybody that is ranked ahead of them, which is what you'd expect. They need to win some signature games, some games that, okay, this school is better than us, and we still took them out. They're playing Butler tonight. Butler's 7-1. That would be a good win. Okay, because they won their opener against Marshall. Marshall, not really a basketball school and a tiny school, just both of those things compiled. And then Gardner-Webb. And they beat Army. So, like, the schools that they've beaten so far, not really basketball schools. I think that loss to Nebraska is not really a good loss either. But they play Butler tonight. You can get a win over Butler. And then, of course, you've got a nice Florida Atlantic school coming up around the corner. Not to underestimate them, but at the same time, you've got an opportunity to beat a school here that gets your record a little bit above water. I'm really interested in seeing what it is that Rick Barnes is going to do as we get to this December portion of the season, because this is where you've got to make a run. This is where you got to make a run. Like, if you're going to, especially if you're a new head coach, I'm not saying that your ticket is punched in March from here, but you can be finished from here, though. Make no mistake about that. You can be finished from now. You mess up in December, you're not going to the big dance. That's just a fact. That's what concerns me about Tennessee. And if we're going to stick inside the SEC, to LSU to a lesser extent, because LSU has just lost some games against teams that I think they ought to beat just on pure talent. On pure talent, LSU is a solid team. And I mean that outside of Simmons. I really do. I think that they're a good ball team, but they just lose these games that you're just scratching your head and wondering, like, what am I watching? Is this real? Why are they losing to them? I don't get it. I'm legitimately concerned about LSU because I feel like a first-round exit is in their future. They are so inconsistent. And this is one of those things where the one-and-done college basketball rule, where you've just got a college athlete in for 1 year and then he bounces to the NBA, and I would too if I were them because, the money is there. Why would I play for free when I could get someone to pay me to do the thing that I'm very good at doing? I understand that. But this is where the rule hurts college basketball, because it would be awesome to see Ben Simmons develop into a great college player. It would be awesome to see him develop into a great college player. He already has these instincts, and they're not going to be sharpened in college. We're never going to see it in an NCAA tournament. Ben Simmons is the kind of guy who could probably bring LSU to basketball prominence. And we like to talk about football down here. Football is the sport. But make no mistake, basketball brings in the Benjamins too. Basketball brings a lot of money in too, especially around that NCAA tournament time. You're going to want a lot of teams from your conference in there. I'm telling you, you play more games than football. Okay, currently we only have Kentucky. Like, if we're completely honest with ourselves, the school from the SEC that has concerned itself the most with basketball has been Kentucky. Obviously, having Calipari helps. But I remember the winning tradition down here. You had Bruce Pearl over at Tennessee. Tennessee got into the NCAA tournament year after year after year with Bruce Pearl. Almost had an opportunity to interview him once. Good guy. Year after year after year. Okay? And Bruce Pearl ends up getting canned at Tennessee. He's over at Auburn now. And that's a project. That's a long-term project, because Auburn's just not a basketball school. And I think that a lot of times the school's reputation has an ability to just filter out the players that play there. Okay? College basketball is a deeper world for the men. And by that I mean you have more players, more people willing to play basketball of a high talent. It's not as deep a world for the women, and so the schools with the high basketball reputation get all the basketball players, and the schools without it don't get any. Okay, so you've got the Baylor, UConn, UCLA. There's like 6 schools in women's college basketball. It's not 6 for the men. Okay, so tiny schools are able to get talented basketball players too. That's why we've seen the run with George Mason University, VCU. Tiny schools we never heard of eventually and sometimes ultimately get into the Final Four and win it. Butler was a no-name school until recently because they were able to get good talent and they had a good coach. You just get that. But then there's some schools that just, no matter what you do, you're never going to be able to market them as a basketball school. I don't know if you're ever going to be able to market Auburn as a basketball school, even if it's Bruce Pearl coaching the team. Like, that is a recruiting job there. I'd like to see you top that, Jim McElwain, whose example of great recruiting is his wife. I'd like to see you top that, sir. Because it's hard. It's a tough sell. And Tennessee used to be a school that you could say, you know what? They're not doing well in football right now, but they're a solid basketball school. And Tennessee has been out of the tournament so long, I don't see them as a basketball school anymore. And they could have been They were right there on the cusp. They needed some Elite Eights and some Final Four finishes, but they were getting in there, okay? They were in the tournament every year. You see Tennessee on the bracket when you fill it out, okay? That's how you know if a school is a basketball school. If every year you fill out your bracket and you see that school on the bracket and they've got a chance to move 2 or 3 rounds, that's a basketball school. You know who you don't see on that list ever? Auburn. You might see Auburn once in a while, but you don't really ever see Auburn. You know who you don't consistently see there? Georgia. Yes, Georgia was there last year. Georgia just barely got in. You know why? They play football at Georgia. And I wonder if being a basketball coach at Georgia is hard because nobody comes to your school to play basketball. That's not the sport. Because Georgia can pull talented enough athletes. Of course they can. SEC needs to change some stuff so that I can have some things to talk about during the offseason. Look, I get that recruiting is a huge thing in college football too, but I'm telling you, I'm not going to stand here and talk about high schoolers and middle schoolers. The 8th grader is a projected 5-star recruit. I can't do it, okay? I will punch myself in the face. You can tune in to YouTube, Hot News Talk Radio. And if I have to start talking about high schoolers and where they're going to go to college, and some people will sit down and talk about it. I like National Signing Day because it's crazy and just stuff is happening. People are committing here and committing here. And, oh, who got the most commits? That's its own scoreboard. I like that. That's its own aspect of recruiting that I enjoy, even though National Signing Day doesn't mean anything. And you can actually decommit after you commit. Whatever. But if I have to stand there and talk about high schoolers and where they're going to go to college, I will punch myself in the teeth. Do you hear what I'm telling you right now? We need to start talking about college hoops. It's great. There are a lot of schools around here becoming more college basketball oriented because schools cannot live by football alone, okay? You can't live just by football. You can if you're Bama and Georgia. But, you know, winning a national title in basketball has nice bragging rights too. Why does the South want to be invisible when it comes to the world of basketball? Why do we want that? What do we get out of that? Why can't you be good at both? It's not like you're losing football athletes by being good at basketball. Hire good coaches, recruit good players. Like winning the SEC basketball tournament doesn't seem to mean anything the way that winning the Pac-12 or the Big 12 or the Big 10 or the ACC. Did you see what's happening there? Literally every other conference is good at football and basketball, not us. It's upsetting. And I'm not talking about who else. He's a senior at Murfreesboro High School. Not doing it. Will not do it. Not going to be able to do it. Okay? Can't do it, okay? I will punch myself in the face. This is Clutch with Keon Rose. Here on AM 1240, Hot News Talk Radio. We'll be not talking about high schoolers next. Because I will literally punch myself in the face. I'm not joking.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
News Talk 1240.
We live in uncertain times, from extreme weather and natural disasters to civil unrest. Don't panic. Be prepared. With protective gear and medical supplies, tactical and camping equipment, long-term food storage and water purification, ammunition and knives, alternative power solutions and lighting, P5 Preparedness has the products and training classes to help you through life's catastrophic events. P5 Preparedness at East Brainerd and Panorama Drive.
Celebrate the holidays with cheer and basement bargain prices at One Stop Package in the Sunrise Market Center's Sunny Daisy. The brand new One Stop Package beverage store on Old Dayton Pike, just north of the Thrasher Light, with the best prices in town. Enjoy the lowest prices on beer, wine, liquor, and soft drinks. Hey, mention you heard this ad on Hot News Talk Radio and get 5% off your purchase. That's right. Mention you heard this on the radio and you'll get 5% off. The brand new One Stop Package beverage store in Sunny Daisy. Their prices are always the lowest prices in town. The lowest prices you'll find in the finest of adult beverages. The brand new One Stop Package in South Sunny Daisy at the Sunrise Market, featuring great prices on gas, bread, and milk. The Sunrise Market just across from Charlie's in Sunny Daisy. And remember, always drink responsibly.
Get 10% off every case of wine.
The Fed raising rates, China's economy in trouble. Don't let headlines derail your long-term financial strategy. I'm Edward Jones financial advisor Patrick Neal. At Edward Jones, we provide the tools for a reasoned, disciplined approach to investing. Stop by my office next to the Target Shopping Center in Hickson, or call me at 423-870-7894. That's Patrick Neal at 870-7894. Edward Jones, making sense of investing. Member SIPC.
I'm the type of guy that likes a big breakfast, a couple of eggs, bacon, and some gravy and biscuits. I get that at Wimpy's. I know they have specials at lunch every day. That includes a big meat and three menu. At night, I want some good comfort food. Maybe some smoked brisket, pulled barbecue, or ribs. They've got that too. Wimpy's the type of place where you can go in and have a good conversation, catch up what's going on in Saudi Daisy, and have some great food. That's why I go to Wimpy's. You know where it's at, on Dayton Boulevard, right across from City Hall. That's Wimpy's. Give them a call, 423-332-6201. Did you hear me? It's 332-6201. Wimpy's. They're even on Facebook at Wimpy's. I know your mouth is watering just like mine. So let's go to Wimpy's.
This is AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio. You're listening to Clutch with Keon Rose. First off, I want to give a very happy birthday message to Confederate Mike, who, among other things, is the man behind putting a lot of this station and its content together. He does a great job. We have an amazing lineup. David Tulis show, Binary with Russell. We've got Cowherd, Hannity. And I feel fortunate. I feel fortunate because what everybody in radio wants, and I'm a young guy. This is my first radio job. What everybody in radio wants is a shot. Everybody wants a chance. And I've been fortunate enough to have one here at Hot News Talk Radio. I plan on taking full advantage of it and just doing my best to make sure that this station is the best that it can be, but just having it, being able to be the sports guy at a station is a dream of mine that's been more or less ongoing for the greater part of the 25 years of my life. And Confederate Mike gave me a shot, and I'm very grateful. So happy birthday to Confederate Mike for just giving me this opportunity on a station that is very well put together, and we just have a lot of great things here. So I could not have asked for a better opportunity and to be able to work with a better guy. And speaking of radio, not that I'm going to put you to sleep talking about it, because jargon is probably one of everyone's least favorite things here, but the radio, music radio and talk radio works the same. Okay? You play the hits. Whatever is a popular thing that is being played, you play it, and you play it, and you play it. If you think that there's a song at a station being played very often, chances are you are not even hearing the half of it. It's just how it works. Okay, if there's a song that you don't like because you think it's getting played too much, you literally have not heard the half of it. I have, unfortunately, because I'm a military brat and my father was in the military and we moved everywhere. I've lived in a lot of different places, and what this has done to me and done to my mind is that I have a very national sensibility. I have a way of talking about sports in particular that is very national. It's very all over the place. I know every sport. I watch all of them. This is legitimately a huge chunk of my life. I watch hockey. I like to watch hockey. I enjoy it. I watch it on TV. And I never talk hockey here. Unless somebody does something really awful. Like Patrick Kane was accused of rape, and then the accusation was recanted. That to me is an issue that you probably want to talk about because rape is an issue that we should probably talk about. But outside of that, I'm not talking hockey. You talk hockey in the South, you will die a slow and painful death on radio, and that's just how that works. Nobody will listen to you ever again. Okay? And that's the reason why Atlanta doesn't have a team anymore. I'm shocked that Nashville and the Predators really are as successful as they are, but I'm guessing that that's because people go to the games and watch it live. It's a fun event to watch live. Nobody's sitting at home watching Predators games. I'm sorry, they're just not. Not here. Okay, and in Nashville, the city with a million things to do, the Predators is just one more thing. Really. But I do watch every sport, and I feel like a lot of times I have these national ideas. And what makes this job hard for me is, like, I'm taking a crash course right now on, like, the history of SEC football. I grew up a Big 12 kid, which is not to say that I grew up a fat kid at 12, but just a fan of the Big 12 conference and all of those schools. And I moved out here, and I've enjoyed being in the South. I've enjoyed SEC football. It is a very high level of football, and I came here and I began to realize this is why there are so many NFL players from Alabama. This is why there's so many NFL players from Georgia. Like, everybody's offensive line is made up of at least one Crimson Tide player. There's a reason why. They're good. They're good. So I hear very often this assertion that the SEC is in decline, that it's going away, that we just haven't seen the best. We've seen the best of the SEC. We're not seeing it ever again. I don't buy that. SEC continues time and time again to have the most NFL players, to have the most, especially if you're going to look at the running back position and the offensive line position, which in the NFL, hard to come by. Everybody's looking for a running back that can do anything at this point. Because right now, running backs play more like wide receivers. And in the NFL, you're used as an offensive weapon. You're moved into different places. You're not necessarily being used as a running back anymore. People want to run an offense that looks more like Chip Kelly's. Okay, you've got running backs in the SEC that are great pass blockers. They're great catchers out of the backfield. They're great at running up the middle, running to the outside. I mean, for goodness sakes, Derrick Henry, whatever team gets him, it's going to be amazing. Whatever team gets Derrick Henry is going to be impressed. He's going to be this season what Todd Gurley was last season for the Rams. Todd Gurley's been amazing. I don't feel like we get to talk about that enough because the Rams are so bad and Nick Foles has been so bad for them at quarterback that we don't get to talk about how good Todd Gurley has been for the Rams coming out of Georgia. And You could probably see another situation in which Nick Chubb does a similar thing for another team. But like all of the great running backs that we're going to be seeing in the NFL over the next few years, probably going to be from the SEC. Ezekiel Elliott out of the Big Ten, he's got a shot. But I like the SEC style of football. It's not always pretty. Okay, and even as we've begun to spread people out some more, it's still very in your face. It's still very smash mouth. I like it. The SEC and the Big Ten right now are my two conferences that I like to watch because the toughness is there in a way that's not with the conferences that end in 12. There's a toughness there that I enjoy. This is AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio, Clutch with Keon Rose, and this is how I've come to enjoy football in the South. I've also watched a number of high school games, and I got to watch Ringgold and Calhoun last season, and that was an amazing game. And there was a player that I didn't remember his name, but we called him Mini Cam because he looked like Cam Newton and he ran like Cam Newton and he was bigger than everybody like Cam Newton, and it just made sense that he just ran over everybody. And what I want to do with this show going forward is I try to be completely honest with you, and I try and be completely open with you about where I'm going with this is to have more guests on to help me talk about the sports that matter to you. I tend to get caught up a lot of times in the NBA because I've lived in cities with NBA teams. I've lived in Washington, D.C., New York City, and San Antonio, Texas. But the Atlanta Hawks, people like them. People just don't like them right now. NBA season is a long thing. It's a very long, time-consuming thing. And when you get to the second season, that is the NBA playoffs, then people want to talk about the Hawks a little bit. I will continue talking about the Hawks, though. I can't help it, okay? They're really good. They're really, really good. And I really enjoy the NBA a ton. I can't help it. I am nursing a little bit of sickness, so I'm sorry for the sounds of phlegm and coughing over the air. I have some kind of allergy, something. It's this change in temperature, man. It goes up, it goes down. Literally, we have 60 degrees in the middle of the day. We have 30 degrees at night. And when you wake up in the morning, you're freezing your butt off. Your car's got ice all over it. And then by the middle of the day, it's a nice 55. I can't do this anymore. Chattanooga, the weather, it's got to pick a side and be on it. It's got to pick a side and be on it. Quick take before we get out of here about Johnny Manziel, who's once again the starter for the Cleveland Browns. Johnny Manziel, of course, Texas A&M, exciting ball player. Is Johnny Manziel ever going to be good in the NFL? Because I don't think so. I was on the Johnny Manziel bandwagon, and I am off the Johnny Manziel bandwagon. I thought if you could learn the game, if you could temper his desire to want to run around, change the script, make silly things happen, if you could change that, if you could tweak that, then there'd be a way to get to Johnny, make Johnny a good, solid NFL pro. But I don't think that you can. And if Johnny can't get out of his own way, not just on the field, but off it, he's not going to be an NFL quarterback for long. I don't know if Mike Pettin is really going to even still have a job in Cleveland, even though he hasn't really done a bad job. He's just had nothing to work with. Who wants the Cleveland job at this point? He's got nothing to work with. If I'm somebody living in the middle of Cleveland and Cincinnati, I'm on that line, been a Browns fan, I might just turn in my orange jersey for one with some stripes on it. Just secretly become a Bengals fan overnight. Because that's rough. Don't know if Johnny Manziel's the guy, and we watched some amazing games. The game against Alabama and Johnny Manziel's last year was amazing. That was a fun game. They didn't win it, but man, absolutely fun. This has been Clutch with Keon Rose here on AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio. Thank you for just talking sports with me. I appreciate it. I appreciate your time. Anytime that you can spare. I'll see you in 23 hours. And remember, it's not how you start, it's how you finish. Always stay clutch.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
News Talk 1240.
Expect mostly cloudy skies out there through the afternoon. Can't rule out a late day sprinkle, but not much. Highs upper 50s. Tonight, clouds hanging around, not as cool, lows mid 40s. For Thursday, becoming partly sunny.